I gave my adult daughter an ultimatum to leave, and her response was to laugh in my face before announcing she was pregnant and I'd be supporting her bastard child whether I liked it or not. She said this standing in my living room, her hand resting on her barely visible belly, while her boyfriend Julian smirked from the couch like he'd just won the lottery. The champagne glass I'd been holding slipped from my fingers and shattered against the hardwood floor. My wife Erica gasped from the doorway, her face draining of color. But Alexandra, my 28-year-old daughter who hadn't paid rent in 3 years, who'd maxed out 2 of my credit cards, who'd stolen from her own mother's jewelry box, she just smiled wider. Julian stood up, walking over to put his arm around her shoulders in a possessive gesture that made my stomach turn. "Guess we're family now, Pops," he said, and I noticed for the first time the expensive watch on his wrist. My watch, the Rolex my father had given me before he died. I'm Gregory Thompson, 58 years old, and I'd spent the last decade watching my daughter transform from a sweet kid into a parasite who bled my bank account dry. But that moment, standing there with broken glass at my feet while she gloated about trapping me for another 18 years, something clicked. She thought she'd won. She thought I was too weak, too guilty about her rough childhood after the divorce, too desperate for her love to ever actually follow through. What she didn't know was that I'd already contacted a lawyer. What she didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything. And what she really didn't know was that Julian had made a very big mistake 3 weeks ago when he thought I wasn't home. The house had been peaceful before Alexandra moved back in. After my divorce from her mother when she was 12, I'd rebuilt my life. Started my own consulting firm. Met Erica, who was nothing like my first wife. Stable, kind, hardworking. We'd been married for 8 years when Alexandra showed up at our door 2 years ago, crying about how her roommates had kicked her out. It was supposed to be temporary. 2 weeks, she'd promised. That was 32 months ago. At first, it wasn't terrible. She got a job at a retail store, seemed to be trying. But then the job became toxic and she quit. Then another job was exploitative. Another had a horrible manager. The excuses piled up faster than the bills she left for me to pay. Her car insurance, her phone bill, her credit card debt from essentials that turned out to be designer handbags and weekend trips with friends. Erica tried to be understanding. "She's struggling, Greg. The economy is hard for young people." But I'd seen the Instagram posts. My daughter at expensive restaurants, at clubs, at beach resorts, all while claiming she couldn't afford rent. When I confronted her, she'd cry. She'd apologize. She'd promise to do better. Then nothing would change. 6 months ago, Julian entered the picture. 25 years old, no job, playing in a band that performed at dive bars twice a month. He moved in without asking. Just showed up one day with his stuff and acted like he owned the place. Started eating our food, using our utilities, leaving his dirty dishes in the sink. When I told Alexandra he needed to leave, she threatened to move out and never speak to me again. I should have called her bluff. Instead, I enabled her. Erica would say I was being manipulated, but I knew better. I was being weak. Scared of losing my daughter completely. Scared of being the bad guy. But watching Julian wear my dead father's watch, watching Alexandra weaponize a pregnancy to chain me to her dysfunction, that was the moment I stopped being scared. "Congratulations," I said quietly, bending down to pick up the larger pieces of broken glass. "When are you due?" Alexandra blinked, clearly surprised I wasn't yelling. "April, and before you start, we're keeping the baby. Julian and I are a family now." "Of course you are," I said, dropping the glass into the trash can. "And you'll need space for a nursery. This house only has 3 bedrooms, and Erica uses the spare room for her home office. We'll figure it out," Julian said, flopping back onto my couch, the leather couch I'd saved for 6 months to buy. "Besides, free childcare from Grandpa, right?" Erica made a small noise of distress. I caught her eye and gave her the smallest shake of my head. "Not now." "Right," I said. "Well, this calls for a celebration. Let me get some sparkling cider from the kitchen." I walked away while Alexandra and Julian high-fived like teenagers who'd just gotten away with skipping school. In the kitchen, I pulled out my phone and sent a text message to my lawyer, Robert. "Need to move up our timeline. Can we meet tomorrow morning?" His response came immediately. "Absolutely. 8 a.m. at my office. Bring everything." I smiled as I poured cider into fresh glasses. Everything was already organized in a locked filing cabinet in my office downtown. The office Alexandra didn't know I still maintained, thinking I worked from home. Bank statements showing $38,000 in unauthorized charges. Screenshots of her social media posts contradicting her claims of poverty. Photos of Julian's drug deals I'd accidentally witnessed that night 3 weeks ago, the ones I'd documented with timestamps and descriptions. But the best part, the piece that would make everything perfect, was the envelope I'd received yesterday from the private investigator, the one that proved Julian was already married, to a woman named Caitlin in Nevada, with a 2-year-old daughter he'd abandoned. I walked back into the living room with the cider, my smile genuine now. "A toast," I said, handing them each a glass. "To new beginnings." Alexandra beamed, completely oblivious. "To new beginnings," she echoed. Julian raised his glass, and I noticed his eyes were already calculating, probably wondering how much he could squeeze from me over the next 18 years, how much he could steal while playing the devoted father. "Drink up," I said, "because starting tomorrow everything changes." "What do you mean?" Alexandra asked, but she was still smiling, still confident. I took a sip of my cider, savoring the moment. "You'll see." That night, after they'd retreated to their room, my former home gym, Erica found me in our bedroom. "Greg, what are you planning?" "Justice," I said simply. "I'm done being a doormat. I'm done financing her delusions. And I'm especially done with that criminal she brought into our home." "Criminal?" I showed her the private investigator's report. Her hand flew to her mouth as she read about Julian's wife, his abandoned child, his outstanding warrants in 2 states for drug possession and fraud. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Alexandra doesn't know?" "She's about to find out," I said, "along with everyone else." "What are you going to do?" "Everything I should have done 2 years ago," I said. "I'm taking my house back, my life back, and I'm making sure she understands that actions have consequences." Erica was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Do you need my help?" I pulled her close. "I was hoping you'd ask." The next morning, I sat across from Robert in his downtown office. He was reviewing the documents I'd brought. Every receipt, every bank statement, every screenshot. "This is thorough," he said, adjusting his reading glasses. "But the pregnancy complicates things. You understand that, right? You can't just evict a pregnant woman. The optics alone—" "I'm not evicting anyone," I interrupted. "I'm giving them exactly what they want. Freedom, independence, just without my money." Robert leaned back in his chair. "Explain." I laid out my plan. By the time I finished, he was grinning. "You're sure about this?" "Completely." "Then let's make it official." I spent the rest of the morning signing papers. By noon, I had everything I needed. When I got home, Alexandra was in the kitchen making herself lunch, using the organic groceries Erica had bought the day before. "Hey, Dad," she said casually, like she hadn't dropped a bomb on my life 12 hours ago. "Julian and I were thinking we should start looking at baby furniture. There's this amazing boutique that—" "Actually, we need to talk," I said. "Sit down." She rolled her eyes but complied. "If this is another lecture about responsibility, it's not." I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot. "This is a text from my accountant. As of this morning, I've removed you as an authorized user from all my accounts. Your credit cards linked to my name have been canceled. Your car insurance policy that I've been paying, canceled. Your phone plan, you're off it." Her face went white. "What? You can't." "I absolutely can. You're 28 years old, Alexandra. An adult. I've been supporting you financially for 3 years while you've done nothing but take advantage." "I'm pregnant!" she shrieked. "Yes. And you have a boyfriend with 2 hands and the ability to get a job. This is actually perfect timing. You said you and Julian are a family now. Families support themselves." She stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "You're throwing me out? Your pregnant daughter? I'm not throwing you out. You can stay here. But you'll need to start paying rent. $2,000 a month, utilities included. First and last month due by the end of the week." $4,000? Are you insane? That's actually below market rate for a 2-bedroom in this neighborhood. And if you can't afford it, there are plenty of affordable apartments across town. Julian mentioned his band is doing well. I'm sure between his income and whatever job you get, you'll manage." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Then rage flooded her features. "You are such a bastard. After everything I've been through. After Mom abandoned us." "Your mother didn't abandon you. We got divorced. And speaking of Elizabeth, I called her this morning. You what? Told her about the pregnancy. She's thrilled. Said she'd love to help with the baby. Of course, she mentioned she'd been trying to reach you for the last 6 months, but you kept ignoring her calls. Alexandra's face flushed. She's toxic, I told you. She said the same thing about you, actually. Interesting how that works. I headed toward the stairs. $4,000, Alexandra, by Friday, or start packing. I heard her screaming behind me, but I kept walking. In my office, I texted Connor, my best friend since college. Phase 1 complete. She's spiraling. His response, beautiful. Lunch tomorrow? Want to hear everything. That afternoon, Julian came home. I was in the living room when I heard him and Alexandra arguing in their room. Her shrill voice carried through the walls. He cut me off completely. We need $4,000 by Friday or we're homeless. Julian's response was muffled, but I heard Alexandra shriek, What do you mean you don't have any money? What about the gigs? More muffled talking. $50? The band made $50 last week? I smiled. 20 minutes later, Julian appeared in the living room doorway. His cocky demeanor from yesterday was gone. Hey, Greg, can we talk? Man to man? Sure. He sat down, trying to look earnest. Look, I know we got off on the wrong foot. And maybe I've been taking advantage of your hospitality. But Alexandra's pregnant with my kid. Our kid. And I want to do right by her. By all of us. I'm glad to hear that. So maybe we could work out a payment plan for the rent? I could give you like $500 a month to start, and once the baby comes... No. His face hardened. No. Julian, let me be clear. You're not my responsibility. Neither is Alexandra anymore. She made her choice when she decided to have a baby with someone who can't support her. That's not my problem. You're her father, and you're the baby's father. So act like it. Get a real job, support your family, or don't. Either way, it's not my concern. He stood up, jaw clenched. You're really going to throw your own daughter onto the street when she's carrying your grandkid? I'm giving her options. She can pay rent like an adult, or she can leave. Her choice. You're going to regret this, he said quietly. Is that a threat? It's a fact. When word gets out that you abandoned your pregnant daughter, everyone's going to know what kind of man you really are. I stood up, moving closer to him. Go ahead. Tell everyone. I have documentation of every dollar she's stolen, every lie she's told, every manipulation she's attempted. Do you really want to play that game? He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and left. That night, I heard them fighting again. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your daughter is crying herself to sleep because of you. Hope you're proud. I blocked the number. The next morning, I met Connor for lunch at our usual spot downtown. He was waiting in a booth, grinning as I approached. You actually did it, he said. I didn't think you had it in you. I should have done it years ago. So what's next? I wait. They have until Friday to come up with the money. They won't. They'll try to guilt me, threaten me, maybe even try to turn people against me. But I have everything documented. Every conversation recorded on my phone. Every text message saved. And the other thing? Connor asked quietly. I pulled out the envelope from my jacket pocket. Julian's wife, Caitlin. The PI found her in Nevada. She had no idea Julian was here, pretending to be single. She's very interested in talking to Alexandra. Connor whistled low. You're playing chess while they're playing checkers, something like that. Wednesday afternoon, I came home to find Alexandra waiting in the living room with a woman I didn't recognize. The woman was around 40, professionally dressed, with a tablet in her hands. Dad, this is Bianca, Alexandra said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. She's from the Center for Family Services. I told her about our situation. Bianca stood, extending her hand. Mr. Thompson, I understand there's been some conflict regarding your daughter's living situation. I shook her hand calmly. There's no conflict. Alexandra is an adult who's been living here rent-free for 3 years. I've asked her to start contributing financially or find alternative housing. That's not a conflict. That's called being a responsible parent. Your daughter is pregnant and vulnerable. My daughter is 28 years old and made the choice to have a baby with a man who has no income. I'm not obligated to support those choices. Bianca's expression tightened. The center can provide resources. Excellent. I'm sure Alexandra will appreciate that. I turned to my daughter. Was there anything else? Alexandra's mask slipped, showing pure hatred underneath. You're really not going to budge on this? No. Fine. She stood up. Come on, Bianca. Clearly my father doesn't care if his grandchild ends up homeless. After they left, Erica emerged from the kitchen. That was a social worker? Attempted emotional manipulation, I corrected. Alexandra thinks if she brings in outside pressure, I'll crack. She doesn't understand that I'm done. Thursday evening, Julian tried a different approach. He knocked on my office door, looking humble. Greg, I owe you an apology. I've been a leech. You're right about everything. So I got a job. Really? Yeah. Warehouse work. It's not much, but it's 40 hours a week. I start Monday. That's good, Julian, genuinely. The thing is, I won't get paid for 2 weeks, so we can't make Friday's deadline. But if you could give us until the end of the month, let me see the job offer. What? The job offer. You said you got a job. I assume they gave you an offer letter, start date, salary information. He hesitated. It was informal. The manager just told me to show up Monday. What's the company name? Why does that... Julian, if you actually have a job, just tell me the company name. I'll call tomorrow and verify. His face flushed. You don't trust me? No, I said simply. I don't. So either show me proof or stop wasting my time. He left without another word. Friday morning arrived. No rent payment, no groveling. Just silence from their room. At noon, I knocked on their door. Julian opened it, shirtless and clearly just awake. It's Friday, I said. Where's the rent? We don't have it. Then you have until Sunday night to vacate the premises. I'll be filing eviction paperwork Monday morning if you're still here. Alexandra appeared behind him, her eyes red from crying. Please, Dad, please, I'm begging you. We have nowhere to go. You have lots of options. Your mother's house, a shelter, friends. Not my problem. I'll do anything, she whispered. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back everything. Just please don't make us leave. You've had 3 years to get a job, Alexandra. This isn't sudden. This is consequence. I turned and walked away, her sobs echoing behind me. Saturday morning, I woke to find them gone. Their room was empty, their belongings cleared out. A note on the kitchen counter in Alexandra's handwriting. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed your own family. Don't expect to ever meet your grandchild. Erica found me reading it. They really left? Looks like it. Do you feel bad? I thought about it honestly. No, I feel free. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Gregory? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. Yes. Who's this? My name is Caitlin. I believe my husband is living with your daughter. I smiled. Actually, they just moved out, but I think you and I should talk. Are you free for a phone call? I'm free right now. Perfect, I said. Let me tell you everything. Sunday afternoon, I was in my home office when Erica knocked. Greg, you need to see this. She held out her phone, showing me Alexandra's Facebook page. My daughter had posted a long, rambling message about abusive parents who abandon their children in times of need. Comments poured in, mostly from people I'd never met, offering sympathy and outrage. Wow, I said. She posted that publicly? It gets worse. Erica scrolled down. She's claiming you threw her out onto the street while she's pregnant, that you called her worthless, that you've always favored your new family over her. I took screenshots of everything. Good. Let her tell her story. I have a better one. Monday morning, Robert called. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Elizabeth called me. She's threatening legal action on Alexandra's behalf, claiming you're denying your daughter basic necessities. Elizabeth? I laughed. The woman who moved to California with her boyfriend when Alexandra was 15? That Elizabeth? The same. Apparently, Alexandra contacted her, crying about how you evicted her while pregnant. Elizabeth is now playing concerned mother. Perfect. Tell Elizabeth I'd love to discuss this with her. In fact, I have some interesting information she might want to know about Julian. The bigamy? That's just the beginning. That afternoon, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. You think you're so smart, Julian's voice snarled. You think you've won. But I know things about you, Gregory. Things that could ruin you. Is that so? I've been through your office. I found your filing cabinet. I know about the offshore accounts, the tax issues you're hiding. You broke into my downtown office? I interrupted calmly. Silence. Then, what? My downtown office. The one I never told you about. The one you couldn't possibly know existed. So how exactly did you break into it? More silence. Oh, Julian, you really shouldn't have said that. I pulled out my phone, texting Robert with one hand. Julian just confessed to breaking and entering over phone. Recorded it. I wasn't. Goodbye, Julian. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded with texts. Alexandra, you're trying to get Julian arrested? Me. He broke into my office and stole documents. That's a felony. Alexandra, he was trying to find proof of your corruption. Me. What corruption? Be specific. She didn't respond. Tuesday, Connor met me for coffee. So Elizabeth flew in last night. She's staying with Alexandra and Julian at some motel on the east side. How do you know that? Because your ex-wife called me, demanding I talk sense into you. Apparently I'm one of your enablers. I snorted. What did you tell her? That I've seen the bank statements. That I know exactly what Alexandra's been doing. That if she wants to support her daughter's dysfunction, that's her choice. But she can't force you to do the same. He paused. She hung up on me. Shocking. There's something else. Connor leaned forward. Bianca, the social worker. She called me too. Said Alexandra told her you have a history of financial abuse, that you've been controlling and manipulative for years. And you said? That Alexandra is a compulsive liar who's stolen nearly $40,000 from you. I offered to show Bianca the documentation. She declined. Because she doesn't want the truth. She wants a victim. Wednesday afternoon, Erica came home looking shaken. I ran into Elizabeth at the grocery store. And? She cornered me in the produce section. Started screaming about how we destroyed Alexandra's life. How you're a narcissist who only cares about money. How I'm a homewrecker who turned you against your own daughter. Erica's hands trembled. Everyone was staring. I pulled her close. What did you say? I told her to read Alexandra's social media posts from the last 3 years. The ones where she's partying and shopping and traveling while claiming to be broke. Then I walked away. Good. Greg, I'm scared. What if they do something? What if Julian really did find something in your files? He didn't break into my downtown office. He couldn't have. It requires a key card and biometric scan. He was bluffing, trying to scare me. I showed her my phone, but he did confess to attempted burglary, which I recorded. Robert's filing a police report tomorrow. Thursday morning, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line, "You should see this." Inside was a link to a GoFundMe page. Alexandra's face filled the screen, tears streaming down her cheeks in the photo. The title, "Pregnant and Abandoned. Help me escape my abusive father." The description was a masterpiece of manipulation. She claimed I'd been financially controlling her entire life, that I'd forced her to work for my company for no pay, that when she got pregnant, I'd beaten her boyfriend and thrown them both out without their belongings, that she was now homeless, starving, and terrified. The fundraising goal was $50,000. They'd already raised $800. I forwarded the link to Robert with a message. Add defamation to the list. He responded immediately. Screenshot everything. This is gold. I spent the next hour documenting every false claim on the page. The comments section was particularly interesting. People I'd never met calling me a monster, sharing the page, promising donations. Then I noticed something. One of the comments was from Caitlin. Julian is my husband. He abandoned me and our daughter 2 years ago. He's a liar and a thief. This woman is being conned. I smiled. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Elizabeth, we need to talk, she said without preamble. I'm listening. Meet me. Tonight. Just you and me. There are things you need to know about what Alexandra's been telling people. What kind of things? Not over the phone? 7 p.m.? The coffee shop on Maple Street. I hesitated. This felt like a trap, but curiosity won. Fine. 7 p.m. I arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a table near the back with clear sight lines to the entrance. Elizabeth walked in at 7 exactly, looking older than I remembered. 52 now, with gray streaking her dark hair. She sat down across from me without ordering. I'm going to be direct. I came here to defend Alexandra. She called me crying, told me you'd abandoned her while pregnant, and I flew across the country to help her. But I spent 3 days with her and Julian, and I understand now why you did what you did. She pulled out her phone. Do you know what I found in her suitcase? Cocaine? Not a small amount. Bags of it. My blood ran cold. What? Julian's selling. Has been for months. Alexandra's been using. That's where your money went, Gregory. Not just shopping and restaurants, drugs. The baby? I confronted her. She admitted she's been using throughout the pregnancy. Said she'd stop eventually. Elizabeth's voice cracked. Our daughter is an addict, and she's bringing a child into this world while actively using. I sat back, processing. Why are you telling me this? Because I was wrong. About defending her. About blaming you. I saw the GoFundMe page, read the lies she's telling, and I realized she's not the victim here. She's the perpetrator. Elizabeth met my eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to make sure that baby is safe, I said slowly. And I'm going to make sure Alexandra and Julian face every consequence they've been running from. How? I pulled out my phone, showing her the private investigator's report on Julian. Did you know he's married? That he has a daughter in Nevada he abandoned? Elizabeth's eyes widened as she read. Oh my God, Caitlin, his wife, is flying here on Monday. She's filed for child support, and she's very interested in meeting the woman her husband got pregnant. This will destroy Alexandra. Alexandra destroyed herself, I said. I'm just making sure everyone sees the truth. Elizabeth was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want to help. Tell me what you need. Saturday morning, Caitlin called. I land at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Can you pick me up from the airport? Absolutely. And Gregory, I have something you should see. Photos Julian sent me 2 months ago, bragging about his new setup. What kind of photos? Him and Alexandra, in your house, in your bed. Her voice hardened. Wearing your clothes, drinking what looks like very expensive wine. Send them to me. The photos arrived 10 minutes later. Julian in my bathrobe holding a bottle from my wine collection worth $300. Alexandra wearing Erica's jewelry, posing in our master bedroom. A selfie of them both in my home office. Julian sitting in my chair with his feet on my desk. The captions made my jaw clench. Living that rich life while the old man pays for everything. And sugar daddy doesn't even know we're using his shit. I forwarded everything to Robert. Then I sent them to Connor with a message. Still think I'm being too harsh? His response, burn them down. Sunday at 3:15 p.m., I stood in the arrivals terminal watching passengers stream through the gates. Caitlin was easy to spot. She looked exactly like her photos with a toddler on her hip and fury in her eyes. Gregory? She extended her free hand. Caitlin, this is my wife, Erica. I gestured to Erica beside me. Thank you for meeting me, Caitlin said. This is my daughter, Sophia. The little girl had Julian's eyes. It made my stomach turn. We walked to my car, and during the drive to the hotel I'd booked for her, Caitlin told her story. Julian had left when Sophia was 6 months old, claiming he needed to find himself. No child support, no contact. She'd hired a PI 6 months ago and finally tracked him here. When I saw the GoFundMe page, I couldn't believe it, she said. He's playing happy family with another woman while his actual daughter goes without. Does Alexandra know you exist? Not yet. Caitlin smiled grimly. But she will tomorrow. Monday morning, Elizabeth called. They're having a gathering at the motel tonight. Some kind of community support event. Alexandra invited local reporters, social media influencers, people from that family services center. She's going to tell her story publicly. What time? 7 p.m. Perfect, I said. At 6:45, I arrived at the motel with Erica, Connor, Caitlin, and Robert. The parking lot was half full. Alexandra had actually gotten people to show up. We waited in my car until 7 sharp. Then we walked into the motel's conference room. Alexandra stood at the front, mid-sentence, gesturing emotionally to a small crowd of about 30 people. Julian sat beside her, playing the supportive partner. When she saw me, her face went white. What are you doing here? She demanded. You invited the public to hear your story, I said calmly. I thought they should hear mine too. Get out! You're not welcome! Actually, Bianca stood up from the audience. I think we should hear what he has to say in the interest of fairness. Alexandra looked like she'd been slapped. Clearly, she'd expected Bianca to be fully on her side. I walked to the front of the room. My name is Gregory Thompson. Alexandra is my daughter, and Julian is the man currently living with her. Everything my daughter has told you is a lie. That's not, Alexandra started. I have documentation, I continued, pulling out a folder. Bank statements showing $38,000 in unauthorized charges over 3 years. Screenshots of social media posts where she's at expensive restaurants and luxury hotels while claiming to be destitute. Text messages where she admits to stealing my credit cards. I laid photos on the table where everyone could see. The room went silent. You have no right, Alexandra's voice was shrill. I also have evidence that she and Julian have been dealing and using cocaine, that they've been selling drugs out of my home, that Julian broke into my office and attempted burglary. Julian jumped to his feet. That's bullshit. He's lying. Am I? I played the recording of Julian's phone call. His voice filled the room. I've been through your office. I found your filing cabinet. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But here's the best part, I said, gesturing to Caitlin. This is Caitlin Martinez. Would you like to introduce yourself? Caitlin stood, holding Sophia. I'm Julian's wife. We've been married for 4 years. This is our daughter. The room exploded. People turned to stare at Julian, whose face had gone purple. Alexandra looked between them, confusion turning to horror. Wife? She whispered. You said you were single. You said he lied, Caitlin said flatly, just like he's lying to you. He's wanted in Nevada for child support evasion and fraud. There are active warrants. A woman in the back stood up. I'm calling the police. Julian bolted. He made it 3 steps before Connor blocked the door. Sit down, Connor said quietly. Police are already here. As if on cue, 2 officers entered the room. Julian Reeves? I don't. Julian looked wildly at Alexandra. Tell them he's lying. But Alexandra was staring at Caitlin, at Sophia, at the little girl who had Julian's nose and chin. Reality was crashing down. Ma'am, are you Caitlin Martinez? One officer asked. I am. I filed a complaint for child support evasion and abandonment. There are warrants in Nevada. We'll need you to come with us, the officer said to Julian. No, this is a setup. Gregory planned all of this. Actually, Robert stepped forward. I'm Mr. Thompson's attorney. We have documented evidence of burglary, fraud, and drug trafficking. Would you like to see it? The officers handcuffed Julian. As they led him out, he screamed, Alexandra! Alexandra! Get me a lawyer! Call someone! But Alexandra wasn't looking at him. She was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure, impotent rage mixed with the dawning realization that she'd lost everything. You planned this, she said quietly. All of it. I documented your behavior, I corrected. You planned your own downfall the moment you decided to steal from me. Bianca stood up. Mr. Thompson, I owe you an apology. I made assumptions without investigating properly. No apology necessary. You were trying to help someone you thought was vulnerable. One of the reporters raised her phone. Mr. Thompson, can you comment on the allegations your daughter made online about abuse and... My attorney will be sending cease and desist letters regarding the defamatory statements on social media, I said. That's all I'll say on the matter. I turned to leave. Elizabeth blocked my path. Gregory, please. She's still pregnant. She needs rehab, I said bluntly. She needs to get clean before that baby comes, and she needs to face the consequences of her actions. If you want to help her, get her into treatment. Don't enable her delusions. I walked out with Erica and Connor, leaving the chaos behind. In the parking lot, Erica asked, Do you think she'll actually get help? I doubt it, but that's not my responsibility anymore. Connor clapped me on the shoulder. You know she's going to retaliate somehow. Let her try, I said. I have nothing left to hide. The next morning, Alexandra's GoFundMe page was gone, shut down after multiple reports of fraud. Her Facebook post had been edited with an update. Some things I said were exaggerated, emotions were high, but the damage to her credibility was done. The comments section was brutal. You lied about everything. Your father was right. Using pregnancy for sympathy while doing drugs? Disgusting. Tuesday afternoon, Elizabeth called. I got her into a clinic. They're evaluating her today. Is she cooperating? Not exactly. She's claiming she only used cocaine twice, that Julian forced her, that she's being persecuted. Elizabeth sighed. But they did a drug test. She tested positive for cocaine, marijuana, and opioids. My hand clenched around the phone. What about the baby? They're monitoring. It's not good, Gregory. They said if she doesn't stop immediately, there could be serious developmental issues. Then make her stop. I can't force her into rehab. She's an adult. You can report her to child services. Once that baby is born, if she's still using, they'll remove it. Silence. Then, you'd really do that? Report your own daughter? To protect my grandchild? Absolutely. Elizabeth was quiet for a long moment. I'll talk to the clinic, see what options we have. Wednesday, I received a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Gregory Thompson? A man's voice, official sounding. Yes? This is Detective Luis Rodriguez with the Narcotics Division. We need to speak with you about Julian Reeves and Alexandra Thompson. My pulse quickened. What about them? We'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can you come to the station this afternoon? 2 hours later, I sat across from Detective Rodriguez in a small interview room. He was mid-40s, tired eyes, wedding ring worn thin. Thank you for coming in, he said. We've been investigating a drug trafficking operation for 6 months. Julian Reeves was on our radar, but we didn't have enough evidence to move forward. Until now. He showed me photos, surveillance images of Julian making deals, Alexandra in some of them. My house in the background of several shots. Your home was being used as a base of operations, Rodriguez said. We have evidence of at least 15 transactions conducted from your property. My stomach dropped. I had no knowledge of this. We know. Your attorney already provided documentation showing when you discovered the activity and immediately took steps to evict them. He leaned forward. But we need your help. Julian's part of a larger network. We need information about his associates, his patterns, anyone he brought to your house. I told him everything I knew. Names Julian had mentioned. People who'd come by the house. Times and dates I could remember. This is helpful, Rodriguez said. One more thing. Your daughter. Is she involved in the dealing or just the using? I don't know, I admitted. I know she's been using. Whether she was selling. I trailed off. We'll find out. Thank you for your cooperation. Thursday, the media picked up the story. Local news ran a segment. Drug bust exposes family drama. They interviewed Caitlin, who told her story eloquently. Abandoned wife, missing child support, husband's bigamy. Alexandra wasn't mentioned by name, but everyone knew. My phone rang constantly. Old friends, distant relatives, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted details. Everyone had opinions. I ignored most of them. Friday morning, Robert called with an update. Julian's being extradited to Nevada to face the warrants there. After that, he'll be brought back here for the trafficking charges. He's looking at serious prison time. And Alexandra? Clean legally. She wasn't dealing, just using. But CPS has opened a file. Once the baby's born, if she tests positive for drugs, they'll remove the child immediately. Good. Gregory, I have to ask. Are you prepared to take custody? If they remove the baby, they'll look to family first. I hadn't thought that far ahead. A baby. My grandchild. I'd need to discuss it with Erica. That night, I broached the subject. Erica was quiet for a long time. A baby would change everything, she finally said. I know. We're 58 and 54 years old. We were looking forward to retirement, travel, freedom. I know, I repeated. She took my hand. But it's not the baby's fault its parents are disasters. So that's a yes? That's a, let's see what happens and make the decision if we need to. Saturday, Elizabeth called again. The clinic recommended a 30-day inpatient program. I got her enrolled. She goes in on Monday. Did she agree? She didn't have much choice. I told her either she gets clean or I testify against her in the CPS case. You'd do that? For my grandchild? Yes. Elizabeth's voice was firm. I failed Alexandra as a mother. I won't fail this baby. Sunday, I went to my office and found an email from Bianca. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to apologize again for my initial assumptions. After reviewing the evidence and speaking with multiple parties, it's clear you acted appropriately. I've closed Alexandra's case with our center and noted that the claims of abuse were unfounded. I've also reported her to CPS regarding the substance abuse during pregnancy. I hope you can forgive my rush to judgment. I wrote back, no apology necessary. You were trying to help someone who appeared vulnerable. That speaks well of you. Monday afternoon, Elizabeth texted, she's checked in. They took her phone. No contact for 30 days except supervised family therapy sessions. Me. Keep me updated. Elizabeth. Will do. And Gregory, thank you. For not giving up on the baby, even if you gave up on her. Me. I didn't give up on her. I stopped enabling her. There's a difference. Tuesday, Connor met me for lunch. So it's really over? Almost. Still waiting for the trial dates to be set. CPS investigation is ongoing, but Alexandra's in treatment, Julian's in jail, and my house is finally empty. How does it feel? I considered the question. Peaceful. For the first time in 3 years, I don't wake up wondering what disaster is waiting for me. I don't check my bank accounts in fear. I don't walk on eggshells in my own home. No regrets? None. I gave her chance after chance. She made her choices, and if she gets clean, if she actually turns her life around, then I'll be happy for her, I said honestly. But I won't forget what she did, and I won't open my home to her again. Some bridges, once burned, stay burned. Wednesday, Detective Rodriguez called. We arrested 3 of Julian's associates, found enough cocaine to charge them with intent to distribute. Julian's cooperating now, trying to reduce his sentence. He's giving up everyone. Including Alexandra? He claims she knew about everything, that she helped count money, package product, arrange meets. She's denying it all. What do you believe? I believe she knew more than she's admitting. But without physical evidence or corroboration, it's hard to prove. She'll probably skate on the dealing charges. But not the using? No, that's documented. CPS has everything they need. 3 months later, I sat in a hospital waiting room with Erica and Elizabeth. Inside, Alexandra was in labor. She'd completed the 30-day program and tested clean for 6 weeks afterward. Then she'd relapsed. CPS was waiting with a court order. The moment the baby was born, they'd be taking custody. Do you think she knows? Erica whispered. She knows, Elizabeth said quietly. I told her yesterday. She threw me out of her apartment. At 4:37 p.m., a nurse came out. The baby's here. Healthy girl, 6 pounds 8 ounces. And Alexandra? Elizabeth asked. Resting. She's asking not to see anyone right now. Can we see the baby? The nurse hesitated. Let me check with CPS. They're in with her now. 20 minutes later, a social worker emerged with a bundle in her arms. Mr. Thompson, your granddaughter. I looked down at a tiny face, eyes closed, completely peaceful. Perfect. What happens now? I asked. We have an emergency foster placement lined up, unless a family member is willing to take custody while Alexandra completes treatment. I looked at Erica. She nodded. We'll take her, I said. The social worker smiled. I'll start the paperwork. That night, I held my granddaughter in the nursery that used to be Alexandra's room. The room I'd cleared out and repainted and filled with everything a baby could need. Erica stood in the doorway. Have you thought of a name? The birth certificate says Sophia, after Julian's other daughter. That's cruel. That's Alexandra. I looked down at the sleeping infant. But we can call her Sophie. Sophie Thompson? For now, until the custody hearing. 6 weeks later, I sat in family court. Alexandra was there, pale and thin, with a public defender beside her. She wouldn't look at me. The judge reviewed the case file. Ms. Thompson, you tested positive for cocaine 3 times during your pregnancy. You failed to complete a treatment program. You have no stable housing or income. Why should I grant you custody? She's my daughter, Alexandra said quietly. I made mistakes, but I love her. Love isn't enough, the judge said bluntly. This child deserves stability and safety. Mr. Thompson, you've passed all background checks. Your home study was exemplary. You have the means and willingness to provide for this child. Yes, Your Honor. Then I'm granting you full custody with supervised visitation rights for Ms. Thompson, contingent on her maintaining sobriety and completing treatment. Alexandra made a broken sound. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. This isn't forever, Ms. Thompson, the judge continued. If you get clean, stay clean, get your life together, we can revisit custody. But until then, your daughter is better off with her grandfather. The gavel came down. Alexandra stood up, her face wet with tears. For the first time in months, she looked at me directly. I hate you. I know, I said calmly, but I love Sophie more than I care about your feelings. She left without another word. Elizabeth approached me in the hallway. She'll blame you forever, you know. Probably. Does that bother you? No, I said honestly, because every time I look at Sophie, I know I did the right thing. 4 months later, Connor and I sat on my back patio, beers in hand, while Erica fed Sophie in the kitchen. Julian got 15 years, Connor said. Saw it in the news. Good. Alexandra violated her visitation terms, showed up high. They suspended her rights indefinitely. I know, Elizabeth told me. How's Sophie? Perfect. Healthy. Happy. Everything a baby should be. Connor was quiet for a moment. Do you ever wonder if you were too harsh? If maybe... No, I interrupted. I gave Alexandra every opportunity to change. She chose not to. That's on her, not me. And if she gets clean someday, really commits, then she can be part of Sophie's life, in a limited, supervised capacity. But she'll never live under my roof again. She'll never have access to my finances again. And she'll never, ever be able to manipulate me again. Connor raised his beer. To consequences. I clinked my bottle against his. To consequences. Inside, I heard Sophie laugh. That perfect baby giggle that made everything worthwhile. Erica called out, Greg, come see this. She's trying to grab her toes. I stood up, leaving Connor on the patio. Through the window, I could see Erica holding Sophie, both of them smiling. My daughter had wanted to trap me, to force me into supporting her dysfunction forever. Instead, she'd given me the greatest gift, a second chance at fatherhood, with a child who deserved better than what Alexandra had become. I walked inside to my wife and my granddaughter, and I didn't look back. Alexandra had lost everything, her home, her child, her credibility, her freedom. Julian was in prison. Elizabeth had moved back to California, unable to watch her daughter's continued spiral. And I had my peace back, my home back, my life back. Some people would say I should have been more forgiving, more understanding, more willing to sacrifice for family. Those people had never been bled dry by someone they loved. I'd chosen Sophie. I'd chosen myself. I'd chosen consequence over enabling, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.